Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It is Monday. It is September 24th, and this will be a chart lesson for today. And it was really just a flat day. It was a little bit of a downward bias early on, and then we just went flat after that, and maybe even a slightly upward bias this last part of the afternoon. So um, highs were consistently across here early on. Lows were consistently right across here. We were looking for some measured moves. Um, Measure from this one down to there and then come to here. You might even bring it over to here, which is where I think I measured it from. And I would also measure this one here and look for a measured move down. You get about the same place either way. We didn't quite get there. You can see we missed it by a tick or so, but that's how I would have looked for those measured moves. And there was a gap here, and generally you'll feel that on the same day. You can see we didn't do that today. We didn't, we really closed almost unchanged from where we opened at. So there wasn't much movement today. It's just mostly sideways. But we're well above 2,900 again. We're almost halfway to 2,950 just a few days ago. We might have actually got real close. I'm trying to remember what the high was. You can see right in here. We didn't quite make it. We were real close. So not surprising that we're backed up a little bit, or maybe just kind of go sideways for a little bit. But let's talk about the trades. There's quite a few here. Uh, it was a fairly good trading day. Most of it's all to the downside. There was a little bit of long here. We'll talk about it. But let's back out a little more where you can see it a little better, and we'll talk about the trades, what I saw. Early on, the 7 o'clock hour was right in this little congestion type area. Really what it is, we're just finding resistance up here. And you can see we made this high. We tested it a couple of times here, 2 or 3 bars here, and then we came back. And this is really a double test to that area. And notice how bearish that is. I like going short there just to ride it back down to the lows. Turns out to be a pretty good trade. You wouldn't have probably got a runner out of that, but you could have at least got a quick, easy scalp. And then you notice you made a new high, then there's a first entry, and there's a second entry. So failed second entry long there. It's the first break of this trend, this short little trend channel. And you didn't know it. It's possible it could have been like that as well. But that's how I would have had it drawn early. And so I was looking for this to come on down, at least test this last low, and probably test this one. And that's exactly where we go to. Your signal bar is not a great signal bar here, but it doesn't matter because it's a failed second entry long. And generally you're gonna, you're gonna trap some people there and push on down. Of course, then we bounce off this low. No decent signal bar here. You get a higher low here after a double test. It's kind of right back into the EMA. However, it's such a bullish bar. It is a double test rule, and it does look like a range, so we're probably headed back to the highs. So I like risking that one. You're better off to wait. This is not necessarily a failed second entry short, but we did try to go down again and made a little 2-bar matching low, and they got this solid bar right off of the trend line that closes just above the EMA. So I like taking that trade because it looks like we're creeping up this little trend line and headed probably to the highs, and so I like taking that one. This one was tempting as well, but we ended up just kind of going sideways. 1, 2, 3, at least 4 bars. That's close enough to be that's basically close right in its trading middle, 1-bar trading range. So you're better off to stay out of that little congestion area because it may break higher like it did here, and you don't really have a lot of room. You may have enough to get out before these last highs, and I probably would have moved this down to those last closes, and you can see we just don't have a lot of room there. I didn't measure it to see if there's enough, but it's close. Regardless, we're away from the EMA, and you're just kind of going sideways. I'd skip that one. I don't like going short there because it's not back to the high yet, and it's the first close outside of this trend line working up here. And notice that we bounce, we try to make a new high, we don't quite do it. You could look at this as a failed second entry short or long right here, because notice you're moving up first entry and then second entry. And this is a little congestionary, so it could be like a failed break as well. So if you saw it that way, you might take that one. I'm going to still make it green. But you may take that trade right there if you saw it that way. And this is a lower double top than what we already had up here. And there is enough room to get out right down here. But we don't quite have a new high. We missed it by a tick. So, but you might have even moved this down by that point to right here. If you were using closes, you might even move it on down to there. So, but notice how we push down. We get a little failed break lower. Turns to be out to be a breakout pullback short, and it is a failed second entry long too. I like going short. It confirms that trend line, and we're probably headed down to here. So just make sure you got enough room for that. This one continues on. You might have got a runner out of it. I don't know if I would even hold a runner there. Generally, when you're in a range like this, I don't hold runners. However, we're consistently kind of making lower highs here, so there's a good chance we may push on down, and we may get that measured leg. So you may consider holding a runner there. If you had, if you'd have got one, you notice how it keeps coming down. We get a little bounce right here. It's a real small bar. It's an inside bar. This is really your signal bar. And there are a couple of legs hidden up. And there's a little bit of congestion here. So with that small bar, you might consider that. I don't really like it. I didn't mark it. I'm not even going to mark it green. You do get a lower high here, but now you've already had a break of this trend line and a new low. And we don't quite have a measured move yet. And that's a fairly bearish bar. So you could consider that one, but at the same time, I really don't like going short way down there on a break out of this trading range, because you may just get trapped right there and then bounce back up. However, we do get the reversal pattern here. You get the failed second entry long, you get a double top, nice bearish bar, you got plenty of room, so I like that one. And it actually jogs back there and gives you that's basically another little double test of that resistance area right there, and a nice bearish bar, so you may take it as well. It actually comes back again, and you could look at that as like a failed second entry long, but you don't have much room there, and you see how quickly it bounced. So I'd skip that one. If you want to get in on either one of those or even add on there, I'd probably be all right with that. Then we come back up, we test this again, we break out. You get a nice bearish bar, but I'd wait on that lower high. You could actually argue for that one to be green as well. I'd rather wait on the lower high here because we could be reversing now. But we don't. It breaks higher, fails, and you get a chance to go short right there. And there is some overlap there and possible, kind of one bar trading ranges there. So it is a little bit congestive. So you might even consider skipping that one as well, because you could get trapped right there. But it is a failed break higher, and the reason we're probably getting that resistance is it's trying to go higher, but notice how it's making lower lows, and when you break higher, you probably trap some people. And it actually went higher and turned and went out the other side. Just go short right there. If you saw it as congestive and you were a little leery of it, you're probably not wrong. So I'll leave it at that. And you see how quickly we bounced. There's a second entry long right here, and look how it took off. So it did turn out to be a trap, but there was enough room to get out of there. But once you've already had this break and you've tried to go lower a few times here, you got to be careful. But there is resistance there, and this is a trading range, so odds are it's going to fail, even if it's going to go higher. So on that lower high, you probably would be justified wanting to take that trade. It's tempting to go long here, but I'd skip that one. And it runs up, and you do get a second entry short right there, and that does finally come back and test that breakout. Notice how we broke out there and we never really came back and tested it. Prices usually will, and that's what that is right there. It's a retest of that, and it does turn down pretty quickly on a second entry. However, there's a trend line here. I don't have it on there. Let me put it on there. And you really don't have that close outside and a retest attempt yet. So, but notice what happens. You run down, you get a first entry, you come back, you get a second entry, but now that's too congestive. So I'm a little bit leery of it. But when it pushes lower and pulls back and gives you that double test and a failed second entry long right there, basically, technically that's not a failed second entry long, so just forget I said that, because I'll probably get some emails or questions like, where's the second entry long? But notice you turned up there and you tested it once, twice, so it's really just a double test, and it is a little breakout pullback short. It's not a great bearish bar. I mean, it's bearish, but it still closed a couple of ticks, but because it's somewhat of a trap and a double test, I'd take that. And you got to figure we're probably coming back to test this breakout area at a very minimum. And that's kind of where we work down to. And we actually get what looks like a close outside here and a new low. So when this came back, and I mean, this is technically a failed second entry long. Notice this double top, first entry, second entry. And that's a relatively bearish bar, but it's not very far to the lows here. And this is a little congestion area, so I just wasn't crazy about that one. And notice you probably would have had enough to get out, but notice it doesn't go much further, and then it bounces. You get a higher low here, but that's a little bit congested, but it pushes on through the EMA, pulls back, gives you a failed second entry short, gives you a bullish reversal right there, nice bullish bar, and third confirmation of that trend line. I like going long there. And you may catch the reversal here, and we may trade all the way back up to the highs and even try to fill that gap. So that was a pretty nice trade. And that just takes us back up to the highs where we just work sideways. We do get your first close outside this trend line, and then a higher low here, and it went lower and turned and went out the other side. So you may consider going long right there. You got enough room to get out. I'm not crazy about it that late in the day, being that close to the highs. I did mark it green though, just simply because you figure it's going to probably push higher and try to make a new high. And notice we did make two legs up to a new high, and then we just went sideways again. Of course, this is all after 2 o'clock. So that's how I saw it today. It was mostly to the downside early on. This all down through here at a downward bias. And then, of course, it looked like we were going to reverse right in here, but we really didn't until here. And even then, we couldn't really muster up a lot of strength to go higher. There's just a lot of resistance right across here where we had the early support. And you can see we're just chopping sideways there. So not a bad day. Hopefully you had a good trading day today, and we'll be back again. We'll do this again tomorrow. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.